Now some sources say you could use 30 minutes, whereas others say 60 minutes. But I would prefer to go for 60 minutes. So we're going to let it settle for 60 minutes. And after 60 minutes, you could use the water to make your juice, to drink, or whatever it is that you want to do. And doing it that way, it will result in a situation where you're consuming the water and you will not get sick. Alright, keep the fire burning. But even this same water, if you treat that with bleach, you can actually drink it. Now, the point I want to draw to you is this. After a hurricane or a storm, you will not see any of this algae that you see in there right now. Some days after the hurricane, sometimes the water will be so clear, nice, and inviting. After the hurricane, the water will sometimes look like it is something that you can just drink without treatment. But do not be deceived, because the water most times may have things like bacteria and other germs in it, because you may have dead animals decomposing somewhere on top of where you are. You may have sometimes septic tanks that is not constructed properly, where the water is draining into these ravines or the rivers. So you can have all these pollutants in the water after the hurricane, but yet it will look clean. It will look like something you can just go and drink without treating. But that would be dangerous because it can get you sick. So there we're showing you there how now. We are actually showing you how you can treat the water with bleach so that you do not get sick. Now when you use the bleach to treat the water, it will only take care of the germs. But the pollutants and the other chemicals that you may have in the water, it will not handle that. So say for example, if you were in a place where you were spraying chemicals close to the waterways, or some other chemical get into the water, the bleach will not help. The bleach is only going to deal with germs so that you do not get vomiting, diarrhea and things like that. That is why it is very important that we do not spray chemicals close to the waterways. You do not spray chemicals close to the ravines and close to the drain, because there comes a time when you and I will need to use that water for very important things. But again, sometimes when you ask farmers not to do those things, they complain and they get angry. So we're going to now show you exactly how to add the bleach to the water. It's a very simple process, but make sure that the bucket is very clean when you're doing that. All right, we shall see. Now for this demonstration, we're going to use chemical bleach, but regardless of which bleach you use, the active ingredient should be sodium hypochlorite, and the percentage should be 5.25% to 8.25%. 5.25 to 8.25%. Now, it is very important to note also that the bleach that you use must not contain anything like perfumes and so on, because some bleach, they have added certain substances, chemicals to them for different applications. Sometimes they apply chemicals for different kinds of clothes and things like that, but you want to use a bleach that does not have pollutants. You want something that does not have perfumes and things like that. Okay, very important. And the bleach must be, the active ingredient, the sodium hypochlorite, must be between 5.25% to 8.25%. Now, the other thing is we need to ensure that the bleach that we're going to use, it must be something that is relatively fresh bleach. You do not want to use bleach that has been there for a long time. When you look at the bleach, it looks like the bottle is damaged and all of that. You need to have something that is relatively okay, that has not been there for too long. Now, for this demonstration, I'm going to use a 5-gallon bucket, because although you can use a 1 gallon, you can use any amount, but some of these smaller volumes require that you use drop like a few drops and so on. And I do not want the process to be complicated, because sometimes you tell people to use a drop and the amount that they think a drop is might not be what the actual drop is. So to prevent this kind of discrepancies, I'm just going to work it out with a 5-gallon bucket, and most people should have a 5-gallon bucket at their homes. But if you have smaller volumes, I'll just give you the amount of bleach that you can use. So for example, if you have 1 quart or 1 liter of water, you can use 5 drops of bleach. If you have half gallon or 2 quarts or 2 liters, you can use 10 drops. If you have 1 gallon, you can use a 1/4 teaspoon. For 5 gallons, you're going to use 1 teaspoon. For 10 gallons, you're going to use 2 teaspoons. But again, we're going to be demonstrating with 5 gallon, in which case we're going to be using 1 teaspoon. I'm trying to get something that is very standard, because sometimes, like when the crisis is really there, when you have a hurricane situation or whatever, some people may not remember the actual amount to use. And so I'm trying to avoid problems with the mixing. You do not want to put too much, but if you put less than you're supposed to, it may not have the effect, and you may still get things like diarrhea and vomiting. So we don't want people to get sick. So I'm just going to go with the 5-gallon bucket. Alright. In that case, I'm using chemical bleach, but wherever you are, whichever country you're from, just look for whatever bleach that they have there. But you know, as we said, you want something that is where the active ingredient is sodium hypochlorite. You want something between 5.25% and 8.25%, okay? In that way, we'll be able to be consistent in what we're trying to reproduce.
Are you going to refine river water though?
Yeah. So this is the 5-gallon bucket. Now what we can do is, sometimes the water may be clear after the hurricane or whatever, but in some cases the water can still be very muddy or very turbid. So what you can do in some of these cases, you can allow the water to settle in another bucket, let the sediment settle at the bottom, and the water will be clearer, and then you can use that clearer water to actually treat. So regardless of which of them you're going to use, we're just going to assume now that we're treating the water right now. So you can take it directly from the ravine or from the river and treat it in the bucket that way. But what I'm saying is, you can have it, even if it is dirty, you can even clarify it more by allowing it to settle in another bucket or whatever, and then you can transfer it to the bucket that you're going to be using to treat. So here's what we're going to do now. Now, this is the bleach, okay, and this is the spoon, that's the teaspoon. Remember, we said for this 5-gallon bucket, we're going to add 1 teaspoon for 5 gallons of water. Okay, so I'm just showing it to you right now, but I'm going to add the water now, and then I'm going to be adding the bleach a little later. So I'm almost finished, so I'm just going to add it now so that the bleach can mix a little faster. That is my preference. So this is the teaspoon and the bleach. Okay, this is 1 teaspoon here. 1 teaspoon of the bleach. So now I'm going to top it up to complete the process. So at this point you let it settle for between 30 minutes to 60 minutes. Now some sources say you could use 30 minutes, whereas others say 60 minutes, but I would prefer to go for 60 minutes. So we're going to let it settle for 60 minutes, and after 60 minutes you could use the water to make your juice, to drink or whatever it is that you want to do. And doing it that way, it will result in a situation where you're consuming the water and you will not get sick. Alright, keep the fire burning.